I hope that everyone has accepted to be a part of the session. Yes, perfect.
Sure.
Great. All right. Then, hi, folks. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I know most people will be joining as the session starts because this is mid of the week. And so, thank you for joining in on time. We have a session today on financial awareness, and a little bit more will be spoken about by Anu Seth here. She's our speaker for the day. She is a financial coach with over 25 years of experience, and she's worked in technology, she's worked in entrepreneurship, and she operates at the intersection of financial capability, leadership, and social impact. She is also the co-founder at Pay It Forward, and I'm going to give it over to her to tell us a little bit more about Pay It Forward, and then go ahead with the session. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Hi, thank you, Arashi, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for making it on time. I'll take this opportunity to narrate a little bit of my own journey, and you'll see why I'm coming to this at the beginning of Own Your Money. I come from a small town, and I decided that, if I do fantastic education, get a good private job, those days, nearly all my friends were looking at public sector and they wanted to sit for the UPSC exam. But I was really enamored by the progress the country was making. And I thought if I get into the private sector, I'm going to make it big. And I hold a very strong desire and ambition to, I thought if I feature on top of a business magazine, that is what I would define as success. So I'm sure some of you are already smiling at that, but that's what a teenage in me thought would do. And so I relocated to Bangalore, got myself a really good job. I worked in several IT companies, ISRO, Wipro. I worked at HCL Pero, and along the way, I've worked in World Bank as well. So along this, I was always doing great projects, earning well. But as all women, I was also dealing with the three M's, which is marriage, movement, and motherhood. I'm married to my spouse is in a non-IT field, and we were moving to various manufacturing locations along with him. So as a trailing spouse, I found my career was really going through ups and downs, and my dreams had to keep coming back and taking a pause. Anyway, it's a biological need for women as well. Along the way, I realized that while I was focusing so much on the earning, I was really not focusing on what was happening with my money. And that was really a self discovery. And it happened much later in life, more so because I was on a career break. And I said, okay, I have nothing better to do. So I will start doing the errands about looking after my money and stuff like that. And I realized what a big difference it made. So my whole idea was success was very incomplete without thinking about the money and how I could fulfill a lot of my other life dreams and not just have a career and earning. And I see this happen frequently with most of us. So along the way, when I started looking around, I realized that there was a big need for people to understand money. I got into portfolio management, and my software shoes were just hung up. It was like I tasted blood. And thereon, as my children were growing up and people around me, I found this big lacune in financial awareness and financial literacy itself. More so with women, but I think it's a problem all across. We come from the same education system. Nobody has really taught us. So with that, I just took a plunge and I decided that I want to pay this forward, and I want to ensure that finance is a topic of every dining table conversation. And here I am 10 years later running Pay It Forward as a co-founder. And thank you for listening into my story. And believe me, it makes a big difference. And the financial journey has been really satisfying. God has been kind. I have put in a lot of effort towards it. And my engineering background really helped. So thank you on that. Uh, So, with that, I think we can jump into the subject. As you can see, I am a non jargon person, and I want you to also enjoy this session. And finance is not rocket science, as we will all discover. So and I would request all of you all to be ready with your chat bots. We don't have a polling mechanism, but I'd be happy if we can keep the chat going. Arushi, will that be possible? I'm not sure if that works in a
Absolutely.
recording
Absolutely.
mode. Yeah, okay. So there is a couple of questions, and chat would be the best way for us to interact. And it would be lovely if some of you want to stay on video, then I can see you as well. But yeah, let's open the whole program with one basic question that very often um, all of us have this answer, but let's just put it out here. When you hear the word money, what really comes to your mind? What's the emotion that comes to your mind, whether you want to think about money or you think about investing, whatever comes to you first? Just either unmute yourself and speak or you put it on the chat bot. Not chatbot on, yeah, freedom and fear both. Yeah, thanks, Tejaswini. Ruby says security. Luxury. So yeah, that's very interesting. So if you see, um, yeah, whether the question was, when you hear the word money or investing, what really comes to your mind? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Some of the answers we've got is thanks. Some of the answers we've got is freedom and fear, luxury, security. So you see, yeah, Pallavi is typing, so we'll wait for that answer and then move on. As you can see, some of these are just emotions, right? They are not really money related topics or a technical know-how. They're more about how we approach this. What is really my emotion attached here? So what are we aiming to do today? Do you think I will make you a pandit on in this one hour? Do you think I will be able to make you a pandit on finance? No, not really. So at the end of the session, my goal is really not to really to make you think about the subject, and if you can understand enough to start asking the right questions, maybe you'll be able to make better financial decisions. Um, am I on the slideshow mode? So with that, Arshi, so yeah, what are we looking at today? These are the factors that I have thought for this, and I know went through some of the questions that were posted. We will definitely take some of those up during the Q&A session, and I have the time to hang around here. So happy to help you all. Um, if you were to deep dive again, if I were to ask you another question on, like, what really, why do you think finance is rocket science? I still hear from a lot of people. So look at these situations and tell me if some of you have been through it. For example, planned a family vacation. If your answer is yes, just keep writing, or maybe just in interest of time, I will just pull them all up and you can write on the chat box if you've done any of them. Planned a family vacation, compared prices, managed a household budget, planned a project execution, also, like, manage multiple priorities at work or at home. If you've done some of these, that would be fantastic. And may I request one of you to call out from the chat box, because I'm not able to see the chat box while I'm presenting. Arushi or Pallavi, would you guys be able to assist me on that?
Mm, sure, I can help out if and whenever.
Yeah,
Sure.
because this is a question that I've put out to to everyone here. Has anybody worked on any of these? I hope to hear some yeses.
Mm, I can see someone typing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just
Compared,
assuming
yeah,
that
I
many of
saw
us
compared.
have worked on this, and
Compared prices on different websites. I have Tejaswani who's said she
mm,
compared prices on different websites. Yes.
yeah, so most of us have worked on some of this, and the point of interest is the fourth one, that all of us in our jobs and our roles at work are already managing a lot of money, budgets, project resources, all of them, and we are balancing a lot of priorities between work and home. So any of these, what at whatever scale you may have done it, it requires a lot of planning, requires prioritizing. You're already making trade-offs, already managing a lot of risks, and you are thinking about the future. In other words, you're actually managing money. Now, somewhere along the way, we kind of feel that, finance is more complicated than this, and that someone else should take care of. Um, I really want you to reflect on this, that if you can do all of this at your work and your home, and any of you who's bringing up a child would know that that itself is a very complex thing, running an Indian kitchen. And if you run an Indian kitchen, you are an MBA in supply chain and you are an MBA in finance, believe me. So if you've done all of that, I think as a woman, you're nowhere behind. So I want you to think about what really makes a woman stronger and actually a good investor. And some of the things, if you reflect on, these are some of the attributes we already possess, which make us so much better in as compared to what we see in our male counterparts. Yet we are constantly challenged with saying that women don't invest well, they are too emotional about it, and they may not. The industry does not talk to us either, because you'll find only suited booted men coming, and they're trying to throw a lot of jargon about CAGR or XIRR, or talk about world politics, and they assume that the woman doesn't know. That's just a stereotype. And who better than the person who is actually here to break that own stereotype? So that's why I called this slide Own Your Money. You're really a great investor. And if you have an endorsement from Warren Buffett himself, he's looking at traits of a feminine or a girl or a woman to actually talk about investing and what is required for a long term, for an investor. Do we think long term? Yes. Ask yourself. All of us know what are the needs of our parents, what are the needs of our children, what we want to do a few years from now, especially in the family context. We all know. Do we avoid impulsive decisions? I think women research so much about everything. You see a JD, we don't apply unless we qualify at least 80 to 90%. So that we are not doing impulsive decisions. Save consistently. This is, we've got data to prove this. Do we ask thoughtful questions? You go to any conference hall, women are asking more questions, we are more curious. That's how we are wired. So let's embrace it and use it to our benefit. And what really women need is not more ability. I think all of us have that ability. We need more confidence. So what is the room saying now? Are we all ready? And do we feel confident about learning and feel that, we can manage our own money? Come on, it's an evening. I know it's a post lunch session. I would love to have some reactions here. Okay, thanks. So I'm sure, I'm just assuming everyone agrees, and I'll be happy to hear any thoughts that you have later. But let me ask you my next question, which is, do you know what's the life expectancy in India? What was the, so two questions. What do you think? What is the current life expectancy? And what is the life expectancy that was in when India got independence in 1947? Any idea? In
Um,
case it's easier for you to unmute and just answer, it would be it that works too. So my question is, what do you have any idea what was the life expectancy in 1947 when we just got independence, and what is the life expectancy now?
wait, he has just said, I think life expectancy has increased.
Yes.
I think it was 45, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember
In
reading
nine.
when we got independence, about
Okay.
45, 50 years, and now it is between the range of 70 and 80.
Okay. Um,
This is what
it
I
was
don't know. I could.
32 in 1947. It was 32, and now in as per the 2023 numbers it is 70, and they're looking at 76 now. But look around you, and all of us women on this group, right? Look around you, how many ajis or grandmas you know who are around 80? I'm sure everyone knows at least one around them within their first circle itself who is somebody who is around 80 or more. That's because women tend to outlive men, and women have an additional responsibility here, so because they will end up being the people who transfer the wealth because they are living longer. So I'll just walk you through a classic timeline on how it looks for most of us. The early years after education, for some time you are like enjoying life and on your own trying to figure out your dreams and goals. Most women, most of us actually, men and women, get married. Then subsequently you have your kids and the family kind of grows somewhere around you. You have a working life till 50 or 60, and then you are for some time you are living on that retired mode. And at later in life there will be one partner, and there will be a stage where you'll end up living alone again. We're finding data says that it's more women than men, so I'm just going by that. But if you look at this from a financial aspect, you have an active working life in the first, between the age of really 20-25 now, going up to 60, and then there's a passive working life where you need to start withdrawing from your savings, and there will be a time when you're completely dependent on your savings. Given that India does not have a social security, we have to really think about where this money is going to come from. How much money do I really need? And how will I'm sure all of us don't want to depend on our children. It was very different in my generation and my predecessors, like my parents and all, where living together was the norm, but it's no longer true. Neither do we want to depend on our parents, nor do we want to depend on our children. We want to be on our own. We don't even want to depend on our spouses. We want to be we want to be financially independent. So there has to be some amount of work or responsibility that we take towards reaching there. In this journey, you will find that you will have several dreams and goals that you want to fulfill. Like luxury was one of the answers we got earlier. These goals can be short term, something that you want to achieve in the next 1 or 3 years; medium term, something that you want to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years; or long term, something that you want to achieve in the next 5 or 7 years. Why am I giving this a number? I'm trying to translate your thought process, your language of what you want to do, into the language of money. Because when we go to the industry, we are looking at everything through three lenses. One is the principal, the amount that we are going to invest. Two, the duration for which we are going to invest. Three, the risk appetite at which we are going to invest. So, really, three things: the amount, the duration, and the risk. So, this helps us define the duration. This is the toughest part, and this only you can do. Like, even though Pallavi and I may have the same income, our aims for for our life will be very different. She may be wanting to go on a holiday, whereas I may want to buy a house. That's where, the whole finance becomes very, very personalized, and that's why it's called personal finance. So it's really important that we are able to translate what we want to do in a definition of when we want to do it, and we'll come to the risk again. As we go along, we'll build that up also. So, how are we doing now? Is everybody ready to kind of take the next leap and understand how we go about doing this? Very often we find, women really manage the household budget, but many of us do not really manage the family wealth. That's really the big contrast, and this session is going to be a bridge around that. Because if you are going to be the spenders for the family, if you're going to be the person who's going to think about which college we have to go, which car I have to buy, what gold jewelry I should buy, which house will be the most appropriate for me. You are part of all those big decisions. You're also part of, like, the budget, as I said earlier. Then you need to be part of how that money is going to come from and where that money is getting invested so that all these dreams are going to be met. So when it comes to money, there are really, you have to look at it in these five buckets really. There is, and everything that you talk about money will come under these five buckets, which is earning, spending, protecting, investing, and financing. So under earning, things like salary, career, skills. There were questions about multiple income streams. Everything will be coming into how I'm earning. Negotiation skills. How am I earning? Then the second bucket is, where am I spending? Am I spending? What is my budget? What is my lifestyle? You have to be very careful about inflation here. I have a little more discussion on inflation later, but we all understand that the cost of things is constantly increasing, whether it is healthcare, whether it is rental, whether it's even your sabji bhaji, rates are constantly going up. So with that, what happens is that our incomes also need to go up. Your household budgets are going up. So you need to plan for inflation in all your budgets. For whenever you think about 2 years later, you have to think about how the school fee is going to go up in two years. At the same time, there is another kind of inflation which is called the lifestyle inflation. I mean, gone are the days where we were standing on a tapri and having tea or coffee. Even the tapris got converted to a hatti coffee now. Or we stopped going to, like, when barista came, we were going to barista, then CCD. Now we are all going to either Third Wave or Starbucks. So our coffee has changed. Similarly, going for a movie has changed. Earlier, we had just one gadget in the house. Now, since COVID, each person has their own laptop and own phone. At least that's the change we are seeing everywhere. So we are seeing there is a lifestyle inflation also that catches up with you, which forms a part of your spending. Then so you have to be careful of inflation, and both kinds of inflation: your household inflation, things that you cannot compromise on like medicine or healthcare, but things that you can manage, which is your lifestyle. What kind of clothes I'm wearing, what kind of holidays I'm doing, where am I staying, my lifestyle around me, what kind of classes I'm attending. Then protecting, with ensure that you have an emergency fund. Without an emergency fund for any small thing, you'll end up withdrawing from your investment. So really, just when, like in a car, you need a seat belt, protection is a must layer in your financial plan. So an emergency fund is a must have. Then insurance, you cannot do without insurance. For bigger needs, you need insurance. For smaller emergencies, emergency fund. protect yourself even for the future. For example, in case something goes wrong, ensure that your finances are structured and everybody around you knows what is where, and your nominations are in place, your wills are in place, you have spent and taken adequate protection and have a cyber fraud mechanism already in place, including your passports, the passwords, etc. Then the next layer is investing, right? On investing, you have to think about it from three or four aspects. First is saving. So usually we have an income, then we spend, and whatever is the balance, we call that as saving. So just if you can tweak that little bit and say investing minus saving is my expense, that just by changing that, you will find that there is a phenomenal change in your thought process and your financial behavior, because the savings are taken care of first. Once that happens, you can automate your savings. These days everything is automated, just like you have EMIs are automated, even your SIPs can be automated. After savings, some part of your savings you need to keep them open with you. The balance saving needs to be invested, and when you're investing, you'll have to think about it from a goal perspective, that for how much duration I'm going to invest, which was the question I asked you earlier: the short term, medium term, or long term goal. Retirement becomes an important part of investing, considering that India does not have a social security. Two aspects that we need to look at: one is retirement. So planning for your retirement, what is the right time to start planning for your retirement? As soon as you start earning. So
Anu,
yeah, sure.
sorry,
Yes,
are you
yeah, sure.
sharing your screen by any chance?
I am, yeah.
We don't see it.
Oh, thanks for highlighting that. Is it moving now?
No, we don't see your screen. I don't think you're sharing.
Oh, I'll have to come back to this then. Just a moment. Thank you for bringing that up, Arushi. I have just been discussing on one of the most important slides, so we'll go
I
back
remember
in
because I saw the
case.
slides and so I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Tell me, is it visible now?
We see, yeah, you can go to presentation mode. Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
We see the five decisions now.
You see the five decisions. Okay.
Perfect. Yes, please.
Um, was this visible?
No, we just didn't see a PPT.
Oh, all along, is it?
All along, yes.
Oh my, thanks for bringing that up. So I'll send the PPT and you can go through it, but I'll leave a moment here so that you can see the timeline and why it's important for us to think about money. And now you can see, right? I've been talking about why it's
Yes.
important for women to think about financial wellness and be more financially aware. I mean, women tend to outlive men, and along the way, we have goals which are short, medium, and long term, and we are moving to the kind of decisions we need to make to shape our future. And you've been listening to me, so these are the five real buckets which will shape your financial journey. The first one being earning, and most of us spend all our time focusing only on the first one. As a young person, yes, this is your max multiplier, the earning. But at the same time, salary is not enough to make us wealthy and navigate all our life needs. So you need to think of all the other four buckets as well. We spoke about spending in terms of having your budget and tweaking the equation in your head, which is income minus savings is the amount left, and that's what I'm going to spend. So if I save first, um, you can also think about it as paying your future self. So pay yourself first and then spend. Um, be mindful of the budget and the lifestyle inflation that can creep in. It's very difficult to start going to a three-star hotel and then have to downgrade yourself to a two-star. So be very mindful when you are allowing lifestyle inflation to creep into you. Protection is an important one. We're talking about having an emergency fund, because anything can happen. Emergencies can happen. The reason it's called emergency, think about it. We don't, in every office room or every office corridor, there is a fire extinguisher. Does that mean there is going to be a fire? No, but we are prepared. It's the same thing with an emergency fund. You just need to have it. And this is the space. You're not looking at having too much money. Think about it as a 2, 3 months of expense being parked aside. And I find a lot, one of the common mistakes I see is people tend to think about investing. Let me put this emergency fund away for 2 months. I don't need it right now. And just when you do it, you may sometimes have a sudden need. And emergencies can be good and bad. It's not necessary that emergency will only be a bad emergency. It could be that you have to travel to the US to receive an award, or you need, there is a, like, one of your friends is getting married and you want to go for that. Those are also unplanned expenses, and that's where the emergency fund really comes in. And the Apart from emergency fund, you have to think about insurance, both health insurance and term insurance. Now, insurance is not an investment. Insurance is about protecting yourself. And who needs the protection? Since we are talking from a financial point of view, the person who is earning needs the protection. So if in a family unit, the lady is earning and the man is not earning, the person who needs to be insured is the lady. So that when, if something happens to her, there is a financial assistance till the family resets themselves. However, in India, this is the most missold product. And we just think that, if I'm not insured, then you don't value my life. No, it's not like that. That's how it's being sold to us. But insurance is just about income replacement. So be mindful of that. And the term insurance is the best insurance, though there's a lot of mis-selling around other products. We can get to that in another session, but not right now. Talking about investing, this is where all your retirement corpus comes in, your SIPs come in, and everything's about how investing and what you're planning for the future. So when you have to plan for the future, you should keep three things in mind, which is really the goal for what is the purpose that you're investing. The second part is how will inflation behave in that period of time. Let's say I'm investing for 5 years. What will happen to inflation in 5 years? How much? It shouldn't happen that today I need 1 lakh and 5 years later that 1 lakh actually becomes 5 lakhs, and I have saved and I have reached only 3 lakhs. So I need to plan to save for 5 lakhs. So there's a little bit of math that gets involved there. So all kinds of long-term thinking is what comes here, which is what a lot of us are already doing, right? And I'll walk you through that. So coming to and financing is all about the EMIs. This is also very tricky ground. And my only suggestion is learn to save rather than when you start an EMI, you start paying somebody else money. Usually, I put financing under spending, but I thought since I didn't, this is a mixed audience, so I thought financing should be something different, and we can think about this. And what is the right time to take an EMI? What is the right time to buy a house? And whether you should just keep living your money on rolling credit. That's something you have to be mindful of. Yeah, although it's getting pushed our way. We'll talk about this later if we do have the time. But let's move on. My next question to you is, if I give you 10 lakhs today, do you know what you will do with it? And some answers on the chat, or you can unmute and speak to me. Would be fantastic to have. We are a small bunch here, so let's just make use of the opportunity and talk to each other.
Folks, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Are we going good? Any questions so far?
None that I see on the chat so far.
Yeah. Priyanka, thank you for keeping your camera on. Okay, so the question is, if I give you 10 lakhs today, would you know what to do with it? And I'm sure some of us already know the answers. I can see Pallavi typing. So we would know what the answer is. And I had some more questions here. How many of you can tell me, without checking your phone, what your monthly household expense is? Would you know what your emergency fund is? Do you know what's the insurance cover you have? Do you know what's the retirement corpus you have? Do you know what is the percentage that you have invested? Many of us do not have these numbers on the back of our hand, but that's okay. Nobody's asking for a decimal point, but a broad understanding of where your money is going really will help you navigate the financial journey much better. So I've got an analogy with time, you know. Think of a Sunday where you've decided that I'm not going to do anything. By the end of the Sunday, you'll realize that, you know, time has just gone, and neither are you feeling rested, neither are you feeling that you've done something. It just goes like that. So just like time has a habit of finding things that you don't want to do, similarly money also has a same habit. It will just go. If we don't anchor it and give it a direction, money just gets spent. And you may realize that by the time you finish the month, the money is already finished, and you're waiting for the next salary. And if there is an Amazon sale, we'll probably have a big credit card bill also standing the moment the salary is going to hit. So it's very important for us to ask these three questions: where is my money going, where is it growing, and am I protected? Yeah, I leave those thoughts with you as you go along. We discuss these answers, or maybe you can take this back with you and keep this in mind and think about it, and try and answer them for yourself. But I leave you with two or three other impactful things which actually made a difference to me. While we speak about inflation, and in our country we are talking about the about a headline number of 6 to 7% in India. India is a growing economy, so 6 to 7% is fine. If you look at US, etc., they have been in an inflation of only 2%, and now when the inflation is increasing, it's really a challenge because of the way the savings are being done there. Whereas in India, 7% in a growing economy is kind of okay, though the country is focusing on bringing it down. But do you think this is the inflation we face in our household? The education itself is going up by 10%. Healthcare is growing by 15%. Your dals are becoming expensive. You're eating out more often, so the Zomato bills are also going up. We are taking subscriptions on multiple subscriptions, but we forget to cancel them. So those small creeps are also going in. And in urban homes, usually the inflation is in the range of 12 to 15, especially in the early years when you start working. In the early years, you want to build things, right? So you see inflation in the range of 12 to 15. It kind of goes up much, much higher when you have children. It tapers down somewhere, like, you know, in between. There are few years where your expenses are constant, but that gets made up with the healthcare expenses that go up in the future. So this question is a very interesting calculation. You know, it hits you when you see the numbers, that if your monthly expense today is 30,000 rupees a month, how much will it become, let's say, 10 years later? Because the whole idea is that I'm thinking slightly long term, and I want to be prepared. Let's say 10, 20 years down the line, I should have enough money. So how much does it really become? So I'll just share the answers directly. It practically doubles every 10 years. So in 30 years, if any of you is in the first leg of their working journey, like I see Arushi and Pallavi, by the time in 30 years you would be looking at household expense itself reaching 2.5 lakhs. Now, this is something we are not prepared for. And every lakh you're seeing, if there's something, if you save a lakh now, 20, 30 years down the line, it'll only be equal to 6,500. And that's something that we even spend on a dress once in a while, or a concert ticket. So imagine, if you want to really have those experiences, you have to make your money work, and the money has to work with you. So keep inflation in mind as you go along planning. The second thing is about thinking of goals. So these are some of the things, these are the questions that we usually have in our mind. Is my family insured? Do I have enough funds? Will I be able to maintain my lifestyle? Am I on the right path? These are just questions asking you to create a long term plan. These are goals in a way. These goals can be translated into smart goals and put into paper, and you can start investing towards them. A small investment now can lead to fantastic results, because, as I make out from all of y'all are really young, and you have time on your side. And the best friend of time is compound interest, or the best friend of compound interest is time. And that's what I'm going to show you here. Imagine if someone were to save just 10,000 rupees a year, which is like 800, 900 bucks a month, and they do this only for 10 years of their life. And then after that, they allow it to grow, saying that, I'm not going to invest anymore, but just retain that investment and assume that this investment is growing at 10%. If this journey starts with somebody in their mid career around 40, by the time they retire, they are looking at this amount, which is 10 years, 10,000 means they've really invested a lakh. That lakh going up to about 8 lakhs. For somebody who is in their 30s, it's going up to 13 lakhs. But for early jobbers, look at the massive difference that is there. So what is the right time to start investing? As soon as possible. Because if you look at this formula, this is something we've all done in middle school. I wish we understood this in middle school and started applying it in middle school, because the biggest contributing factor is time. And time is what a young person has. They don't need so much money, but that is time. Now, if I were to double this money, let's say around 40, when I invest, and instead of 10,000, I'll say, okay, I'm going to do 20,000, I will still not beat compounding. And you can do this for yourself. But compound interest is very easy when we look at only numbers, but it's very hard to comprehend. I see people not willing to stay with an investment. I mean, we are changing jobs every 2 years. We are changing our decisions every 2 hours. So it's very hard when I say stay on with this investment for 10 or 12 years. There will be ups and downs, but the only way of making money is to hang in there and allow compounding to work. Because the initial 6 7 years, it's a very painful thing. It looks very barren. It only happens as time progresses. So that's an important thing that I want you to think about. And I will leave you with this, and we'll move on to what we can do now, as a takeaway from this session. I would like all of y'all to create your financial checklist. And these are the things that you need in your financial checklist. Whether you have the emergency fund, whether you've done your health insurance, is your term insurance is already there. In case it's not there, then you should take a term insurance. Health insurance, even if you're working in a company, you should have your own health insurance, because your personal health insurance, one, there is a waiting period. Two, in case you are switching between jobs, right? The health condition, the bacteria and the virus don't know whether you have a health insurance or you don't. Anybody can get a dengue. Anybody can need a health insurance. So you need to have your own personal health insurance even when the company is providing one. Then minimum debt, ensure that you think of your goals. If you're somebody in your 20s and you don't know what your goal is, retirement is a goal everybody has. So you can start saving, even if it's small sums of money. The early years is about learning, because if I don't know how to invest 500, what tells me that I will be able to invest when I have 5 lakhs? So, isn't it better to do my learning of the right methods when I have that 400, 500? So, start early is my suggestion. For somebody in their 30s, they would be looking at a lot of goals around their own career needs, their family needs, they may be wanting to buy some assets, whether it is car or house or phone or jewelry and things like travel, etc. So all goals are important, and you need to start thinking about that. In this cohort, I think we have a couple of entrepreneurs also. The entrepreneurs also need to think about a goal. Do not mix your personal and your and the, like the business money together. Keep the two separate, because your money is for your personal goals and business money is for your business needs. Do not club them. That's the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs do. Ensure that the goals are defined in terms of time, and once you have the time, the risk that you take with that goal gets automatically defined. Retirement, I've already spoken. It's very important to protect what we already have by way of defining the nominee and the will. So I'll give you one example. So let's say there's a woman, and many of us are now working and have access to money and create our own assets. Like, let's say you have built a house, right? And if a woman who has assets dies in estate, which means she does not have, her husband is not there, she does not have children, and something happens to her, so the government now has to decide what happens to her money, right? So do you know where this money goes? And and you have your in-laws, you have your parents, you have your brothers and sisters. This money should ideally, I mean, I would think automatically it'll go to my parents. It's my money, right? If I'm not there, my parents need that support. But according to the Hindu law, it goes to your in-laws and not to your parents. So I'm sure no woman would want to, like, very few women would want to give away their assets to the mother-in-law and not the mother. So ensure that you have the will in place. And in case in-laws are also not there and parents are also not there, then it doesn't even go to your brother, it goes to the brother-in-law. So please read up on this and ensure that you have protected yourself by way of will and by way of defining your nominee. The nominee is only the caretaker, he is not the owner of money. The owner is your legal heirs. In case of a woman, it's the husband and children. If they are unmarried, then it would be parents. um, and how do you keep track of all of this? By doing a monthly review. It takes only 1 hour for your future self. So maybe set up a date with yourself. One day, don't go out drinking. Pour yourself a drink, open your laptop, sit down and look at your money things. And I will leave you with this, your own framework, which is observe your money habits, work with your money intentionally, and navigate your financial future. Thank you for listening in. I'd love for you to tell me, switch on your cameras and tell me one thing you would like to do this weekend. And we are open to questions now.
Thank you so much, Anu.
Thank you.
And yes, as she said, please go ahead with your questions. You have a few minutes. I will also share her LinkedIn and the org's website as well. Yes, please go ahead,
Sure.
Priyanka.
Go ahead.
Hi, hi. Thank you so much, Anu. This was such a riveting session. And as an entrepreneur myself, in my late 30s, it's all about trying to maximize my profitability and minimize the risk. So your session was really helpful in understanding that.
Um, Hi, you're not audible, Priyanka.
Understand what my risk score is. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Sorry, we lost you there for a
Can you,
second. You're
yeah.
back now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah,
hear you.
I was understanding how do you come up with a fire score framework? Like, for your retirement, you need a fire score where you basically there's a formula that under that sort of like helps understanding what the retirement score is. So I can reverse engineer my savings on basis of that. I believe it's called the financial independence score for your retirement.
Yeah. So there are a lot of calculators available now. So there are really three steps. One, I need to understand what am I going to spend when I retire. Like how is my life going to look when I retire? So I need to put myself in those shoes and figure
Right.
that, okay, what will my expense be? Where will I be staying? What kind of house or accommodation? Will I have any dependencies or not? So that's a big exercise that you do as step one. Once you know that exercise, and for example, going back to the earlier slide that I had shared, if I know what I'm going to be spending, let's say
Mm-hmm.
the 30,000, right? So I know that 30 years, can you see the slide? It's
Yes.
just helping me explain this better to you. So, as part of my fire framework, I really need to figure out what this expense, which is now, will become 30 years later or 40 years later, whenever that is. So, if I
Got
get
it.
this number, for this, I need to understand inflation. And hey, this is a financial plan, so it is subject to change and it is your plan. So you begin somewhere, and every year I mean, life is going to happen. There will be things that will change. You will create assets, you will sell assets, you will have more challenges, you will have great wins. So as that goes along, this number will keep changing, but it's important that you begin somewhere. So let's say we begin with this example that I'm spending 30,000 now, and 30 years down the line this expense will become 2.25. Now after 30 years, let's say I'm going to start withdrawing from this. You can do a calculation assuming that your life expectancy is 80 or 90. Please don't assume it as 70. Assume it's 90. A plan for 90, it's okay if, like, things happen before or after. So you plan for 90, and then you say, okay, how much corpus do I need so that I can start withdrawing at some pace, and then that, so that becomes your fire number, the number that you are going for. Yeah.
Got
And
it.
ideally that
Yes.
now, and a quick so there are a lot of calculators available, but really if you do this first step, it's 25 times this number. So
Ah,
see,
okay.
this is a monthly expense, right? I do an annual expense on this, so 2.25 multiplied by 12 will be my annual expense 30 years later. I need to
Yes.
plan for 25 times of that. That's a ballpark number.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, that's quite
Okay,
simple.
so you
Yeah.
work with that, and then along the thing you will keep changing. So I do financial planning as a service, and I help people create these plans. And some of the examples I can give you is like somebody wanted to start their entrepreneur journey once they retire. So we needed to build a corpus of XYZ at the age of 58. And that is the
Okay.
corpus that they're going to take off. So, for example, they planned for 1 crore. So, they want that 1 crore to be available to them freely when they turn 58. And then they
Got
will
it.
use it in some other business. So, the plan was done like that. There was another example where this lady wanted to travel every year, and she wanted to travel to a new country every year. So at 68, if I'm doing this discussion at 45, I'm thinking about, you will start traveling at 60, you're going to travel every 2 years. So you need, what is the money that you need at 60, 62, 64, 66, and then that gets plugged into the plan, and then we come up with the fire number. So it's really a very dynamic exercise, because 5 years later you may say, no, no, I think this is something which I want to improve on this, and I'm not okay with not buying a car. I need to buy a car, or I will be upgrading the car. So it's a very intensive exercise, long story short, where we keep all these factors in mind, and it's worked out. But you can start with the ballpark number.
That's
Yeah. And
amazing.
as an
Not too
entrepreneur,
comprehensive.
don't mix the two. Ensure that's the
Yes.
biggest challenge. The second
Yes.
one is your term insurance. It's really a must have for every entrepreneur.
This is quite comprehensive. Thank you, Anu. Appreciate it. I see Pranalika as well. Hello, everyone, and thanks for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Happy to take this conversation further, Priyanka.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Priyanka. I see there is another last question on the chat here. Shiv Shakti asks, is it good to get an EMI or not?
So this has to be actually taken in a little bit of a context of what the EMI is being done for. So, for example, I'm going to give you one funny one here. Let's say I want to get a nose job done, okay, and I don't have the funds, and I'm going to take an EMI for to do that. Do you think that's a good decision or a bad decision? Shiv Shakti, if you're there, it'll be great to have this conversation. She's clarified
So
it's a
sorry.
housing loan.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'll tell you about this nose job since I picked up that example. So, it has always got good loan or bad loan has to be done in the context. So, when I ask this question, usually the answer I receive is that no, you should not get a nose job done. But what if I'm, let's say, somebody who's handling the front office of a hotel, or I'm a film star? uh, in that case, would your answer remain the same? If I'm earning out of the asset that I need to spend on, it may not be a bad loan. Similarly, do I need a phone or not? Should I buy it on EMI? Depends on which phone and what extent you are going to use it. If it's a fancy, then it's not a great solution. The challenge with any EMI is that it is very heavy on interest, and your interest gets paid in the early years. So coming to your question of housing loan, let's assume that for a 25 to 28-year-old takes up a housing loan of 50 lakhs. One, they need to have a down payment. Two, they are going to there is maintenance, there is housing loan is just not about the house. There's a lot of top work in terms of interiors and registration, etc., which is there. So you're already stretching your pocket really thin, and then the EMI starts coming in. So what happens is, even in an EMI, you're paying the interest. More interest in the beginning years. So for a 50 lakh loan, within the next 5 years, your liability becomes nearly 70 lakh, because that additional amount of interest gets charged to you. Additionally, it adds a lot of financial stress because you'll have to really balance out on all the other things. And this is very true, especially for the early years. Now, what's the flip side to this? The reason we take an EMI is, we've done surveys on this. So the reason we take an EMI is either we are doing this as a means of saving. Okay, you are just spending, so parents are putting a lot of pressure. Why don't you save? Or we are getting carried away with all the hoardings around us, saying that this is going to be a very cushy life, one garden, one husband, one bacha, one dog, and one lawn, and that's where I'm going to live, kind of situation. Or whether it's with my parents or without, whatever the family structure would be. So there's a lot of push towards buying a real estate. And why not? Because real estate, actually, the housing industry is not just one house. For every house that you buy, there are 54 industries that work together, whether it's paint or lighting or everything. So for the economy, the real estate is very good. But for you, you start paying off the interest. An alternate is to create that same discipline and start saving. So with the same amount, if you start an SIP, here, let's say you're giving a 9% interest. In an SIP, you will start earning 7, 8, or 9, whatever percentage of interest you start earning. And that starts compounding. You will really benefit even in those 5 years. I have the calculation done somewhere. I can pull that up and show you, or send it out to you. In 5 years, you would have already made 20 lakhs. So imagine if that for that same 50 lakh loan, instead of paying 20 lakhs, if you have earned 20 lakhs, doesn't it make sense to look at a housing loan a little bit later. Now, this holds true for the early years. At the same time, all of us want to buy a house. So you have to think about a house in a way that your loan liability gets done before you retire. So somewhere in your 40s is the right time to understand what kind of house that you want to take. So don't be in a rush for a housing loan is my only advice to you. And then there is this, I've said this only from a very generic point of view. It has to be taken into consideration on the personal aspects and where you are living, what is the other condition, etc.
So, what about the down payment, Anu? So, let's say that if we have enough money and we just uh, ask, we just apply for a loan of a minimum amount because auditors keep saying that whenever you're constructing a house, it's good to take
Yeah.
EMIs to save tax.
Mm.
So, isn't that a good opportunity to save
So,
tax?
so as I said, the it has to be taken in context with what your personal situation is. One is if it is a total surplus that you're looking at. Um, are you if you're looking at buying a house as an to live in, then you have to look at this whole equation differently. If you're buying this house as an investment, then there's no point taking a debt and paying. So you're saying that I'm going to pay an EMI an interest of 9% and my property will appreciate by the same amount. I think those days are really gone, because now if I want to buy, if I want to, if you're in Bangalore, if I want to stay, if my work is in Electronic City, I want to stay in Electronic City. If my job changes to Whitefield, I would rather come to Whitefield than travel from Electronic City to Whitefield every day. So be mindful of that. At the same time, if you have the surplus and all the other goals are met, and you don't need this fund for other goals, then it may be wise to kind of take the housing loan. If the question is, should I take an EMI from a tax saving perspective, now that tax saving is become very very limited now. Earlier we had all those factors available, but even the tax is getting very tighter. I think only about 2 lakhs of interest is exempt, but we don't pay 2 lakhs, right? When you're buying a house, if your budget is 20, you'll end up buying a 30. Don't
Mm.
we stretch ourselves a little too thin? Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep all those factors in mind. Happy to have a more personalized conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank
Anu.
you.
Thank you so much, Anu, and thank you so much to everybody to join. I will share this recording in the sense that it will be put up on our YouTube by our marketing, and so you can see it there as well. Anu, let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to share with the RSVP folks as well in terms of a PDF or PPT or whatever.
I'll share
And
you a little handout for to make it easier for anyone watching this.
great.
Fantastic. It's been great talking to all of y'all. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. And I will stop recording now.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.